Hey guys, welcome to Cruising the Void. My name is Nagy. Here with me is the cuttlefish himself. Today we are talking about probably one of the most significant things on ships around the world in history, and that's keeping them happy, keeping the crew happy with partying. It ranges from all the different holidays to every excuse that crew members find to have a cocktail at a way cheaper price than guests get to enjoy.
Or even getting it for free. Like that's the best part.
That was
Depending on
also,
the
yeah,
party.
that's the best.
Depending
You're
on the
getting up.
party, HR would pay for that. So yeah, I guess we'll get it going with that. Basically what we want to talk about is everything that all the different holidays that we saw on ships. And we learned how different people celebrate different parties. One thing that Nagy and I had talked about specifically was all the Independence Days, because on the cruise ship, Americans are minorities. So 4th of July for us is not a big
So
thing because there's
insignificant.
only like 20 of us. So we get like a case of beer and they say, have fun.
Congrats. I
And then you
love
got
the
to make your.
British though, because every independence party, all the Brits would be like, "Yeah, we used to own that. Yeah, we used to own that." Like,
It's
there's you're
true. That's the
celebrating
other
you're
funny part.
celebrating independence from England.
All the English people would be grumpy all the time, where everybody's just like giving England the bird.
Yep. Every
um,
Independence Day, looking up, being like, "Hey, England, suck it." And they're like, "We used to own the world." Like, yeah, but now we get to party for it.
so I looked up some dates for us. Conveniently, June, August, and September. June
So it's the
12th
whole summer.
is, huh?
It's the whole summer months because June, July, August, September.
Yeah, because that's when you're gonna fight back.
Of
All right.
course.
June 12th was Filipino Independence Day every year.
Nice. That's Spain, isn't it?
They got
Indep
their independence from Spain, correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, Filipinos were, I'd say, like, if you had to guess the percentage of the crew that they were, I would say they're probably like 30%.
I would have
Filipinos
said like,
could
yeah,
account
40,
for at least a
50.
third of the crew, I think, more often than not.
I think more now. After COVID, they
Probably.
started high like, they were the first ones to get cleared and do all the checks and everything like that, but all the stuff behind scenes that you never see, never think about, generally Filipino and, like, Indonesian, Indian. But, yeah, and so
Yeah.
it was big. Like, the 4th was celebrated for a lot of the guests, especially ships out of the US,
Hmm.
but below decks, Filipino independence was monstrous.
Following up with that conveniently, August 15th is Indian Independence Day.
Yeah.
Which again, I think would count for probably not a third, but
I
10%.
would say like 20%. Yeah, easy.
You say 20? I'd say that's fair. I mean, we'll call it 15 then. We'll
Okay.
call it 15. That works. That was another big party day. And just let me tell you, my favorite part about the Indian Independence Days is the dance floor never stopped. Never.
No.
You couldn't get them off of it ever. They would come to the
Some of
bar,
the best
shoot a Red
dancers.
Bull, and then just get right back out there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we would joke that it's like hip, small hip, a lot of feet just sideways,
Hmm.
and you joke that it was just turning on the light bulb or like parade wave just a little quicker, but you got out there and you just kind of like stumbled towards the dance floor and they'd be so inviting and they'd just be like, "Yeah, here you go." And you're just turning your hands and there's the food at the Indian parties, I think was better, I'll say it, than the Filipino.
By far.
Different because it was just
No, I'm
all
sorry. Filipinos, you guys are not known culturally for your cuisine. I love you guys.
it's
We appreciate you for a lot of things, but your cuisine is not one of them.
but the Indians with the curries and like the
Oh.
I wanna say tubs of rice,
Hmm.
and I think that's an understatement. I don't think it was quite a pallet, but there would be like 3, 4 tables of just white rice, and then the
Think
foods and
of
chicken.
for everybody at home, think of those like small little cheap Easter baskets that are kind of oval shaped.
Yeah.
That's what would be loaded with rice. That's,
I think more of like, when you cook a turkey in the silver trays,
yeah.
there'd be like 9 of those, just
Hmm.
rice.
Yeah.
And each person has a plate that you're like, dude, if you put one more grain on that, like you're gonna have a small,
It's incredible.
like,
It's
yeah.
incredible. And then you've got curry sauce drenched across the
Oh,
whole thing. Like, and it's just running down it. You're like, oh.
and especially after a long day, and it was one of those crazy things where even on like crazy hot days, having those hot curries at night was just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
With the spice, that's one thing. I'd be like, "Hey, man, I'm pretty white, like, is this like, how torched am I gonna get on this?" But you gotta, like, mix and match them and just have these crazy concoctions and, a nice plate of Hodgepodge.
um, then after that, we had September 7th, which was Brazilian Independence Day.
Nice.
And they got theirs from the Portuguese.
Yeah, Portuguese, yeah. Um, those those were always just parties. Those guys where the Indians where you get in and dance, the Brazilians is where you sat back and watched because think of the cha-cha slide and any, like, country line dance, all of the Brazilians know these, like and they're not just, like, slide to the right, it's these crazy hip movements and twists, and you're just enjoying the show. The amount of times that I was like, "Oh, I'll pick this up," and then it's in Portuguese, I don't understand anything, and everybody's doing crazy moves, you're like, "I'm just gonna watch. This is phenomenal."
Or the capoeira circle starts. That's the fun one too. When you have like three guys that know what the hell's going on. Because everybody tries it. Everybody gets in there and tries capoeira. Nobody can do it right. Nobody can do it
Oh,
right. But you get
I would
like,
do the side to side, lots of arm movements, and
yeah.
then maybe, like,
And
a hand plant. And then someone actually, like, comes in and knows what they're doing, you're like, "Ah, alright, you okay, I'm just gonna like,
and
this is
there's two
amazing."
guys that get in there and they know what's up. And then the circle's just going. And obviously the DJ knows what music to play. And they're just, because part of the whole thing of capoeira is there's a rhythm to it. It's a dance, so it moves with the beat of the music. So the DJ would always catch on to it if this would happen when wherever we're at. Oh, it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then they all had. Do you remember what this was called? It was a drink that had like matcha or something in the top, and it had that little gourd at the bottom with the straw, and they would fill it up with hot water and they would let it sit and they would walk around and just sip on it. It wasn't alcoholic. I can't
No,
remember what it was though, but you know what I'm
it's
talking
their
about?
yeah, it's their, like, coffee/tea. Um, man, is it not matcha?
I'm pretty sure they fill it up with matcha. I think. I could be wrong.
Chas.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Where does it originate so
It's
I don't sound like a complete idiot if it's not Brazil?
Portuguese pronunciation, culture of the Amazon, and the
Yeah.
Rio de la
Okay.
Plata. Yeah, basically just teas, but yeah, the big cups, man, those guys where all sports staff carry around water bottles and reusable and, thermal insulated ones, all, like, Brazilian and Portuguese had, and they almost look like clay, but they're clay with the top, and they always brought bags on bags of this stuff, and they put it in with the big metal straws
Hmm.
and just steep it and make their
Or
own.
they had the really nice metal one with the leather wrapped around the outside.
Yeah.
Those were the two you would always see. And then that's it for Independence Days. But the one day I did learn about from a lot of ships I didn't know about is Boxing Day. We don't do that. Like, it's not a US thing.
Very not American thing.
And that was always just a fun day in general.
Which is more laid back. I mean, so Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
Hmm.
Christmas was always a monstrous, like, event on cruise ships. They get huge trees that are stored somewhere and
Still haven't figured
decorate.
that out. I think they're
Yeah.
brought on for the week and taken off on turnaround day. That's my guess.
I mean, I would say they're stored in some giant warehouse somewhere for the year, yeah. But I mean, they bring those things out usually at the beginning of December, and they're decorated to the nines. The whole ship's decorated. It's very festive and themed, and it was nice because it's not like thrown down your throat,
Hmm.
but it's just a very festive environment. There was the allure where I got to be Santa. So the youth staff have a huge event where I was Santa for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
Wait,
because
hold up.
again,
When you were on the Allure, you were sports staff though.
yeah. So Nate Good was the Adventure Ocean manager, and there was like not the right guys in youth staff, like because I had my beard and things like that. I'm a little bit huskier, so I fit more of the profile of a
Hmm.
Santa. And Nate's like, Nagy, if you want it, you can be Santa. I was like, sure, why not? I did not know that that meant dressing up, boots, full suit, beard, big Christmas hat, and going and sweating for like hours on the promenade at night. And people would take pictures with Santa. And I was the guy that was like, you know, "Sir, come sit on Santa's lap." Like, not like kids would always come take pictures and stuff, but I always tried to get the dads. And I remember this one guy was probably like 6'7", 250 easy. And he like looked at me. I was like, "I got you, bud." And he goes, "Why don't you sit on my lap?" I was like, "Thank you." And so I have a picture of me sitting on his lap with his wife and kids.
That's funny. Also, you saying that he didn't have anybody that fit the bill tells me that he only had South American grandpas or Santa Clauses.
I think so.
And
Yeah, it was.
we were in a white area, so he was like, "Damn, I need a white Santa."
Yeah.
I need,
And
that's what that
Nagy's
tells
filling
me.
in. Yeah. But that almost leads into the wrapping parties
Ooh,
because like preceding that whole month of Christmas, there'd usually be 2 or 3 nights where the cruise ships are awesome and they give out gifts to all, like, they see how many kids are on board and they prepare to wrap presents, and most of the time it's little trinkets like kid water bottles, beach towels, reusable straws, and we would just have to sit there for hours. It'd be like, okay, guys, on night 3, everybody's going up to the Adventure Ocean facility at night when it's closed and just wrapping all these presents. And you would just sit there for 3, 4 hours straight, just almost in robot mode of rolling a towel. Sports staff were usually delegated to just folding the towels. They're like, you guys deal with a lot of pool
I
towels anyway. So,
always volunteered myself as a tape ripper. So
oh,
what
yeah.
I would do is I would take pieces of cardboard, like you guys had all that big cardboard paper, and I would chop it up into little bits. And so what I would do is I would fill up a whole piece of cardboard with a bunch of pieces of tape, and then I would hand that to somebody, and that would just kind of like sit in the middle of the table, and people would peel them off and
Oh, yeah.
use that to wrap the paper, as opposed to grabbing the tape all the time. Because I am a above average rapper from these rapping parties just because you sometimes have to get reps. If you show up early, you're like, fuck. If you show up late
Yeah.
and you're in the middle and the U staff have to switch out, you have to rap, whatever. You fell upon it. So you kind of get decent at it, but we are not the ones to be touching presents and we should not be the ones touching presents. So
I was a rapper.
like you said, we got folding towels. I got tape. The other one we got stuck with is the tissue paper. Like either stuffing that in or wrapping it with tissue
Wrapping it
paper
around.
before somebody else wrapped it.
'Cause you're like, "All right, just throw the tissue paper around it," and other people be like, "Dude, I'll finish wrapping," or like, I would always wrap, and I remember sometimes being like, "Dude, it looks like you just put a piece of tissue paper over this water bottle, like, you didn't even try." Like,
Bro,
"Meh."
we, like you've heard, we send people down zip lines, we indoor skydive, we teach people how to do backflips on the trapeze. I don't know how to wrap a present, all right? I have many different skill sets, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, but it was always a fun time because again, it's like all the divisions for entertainment. You got the crew staff, you got the youth staff, you have cast members all just hanging out, and you kind of get the small cliques, but it was always most
Hmm.
fun when like, oh, I'm gonna go sit down just in the middle of the cast members, and you're all just hanging out, chatting, just basically in robot mode, but otherwise you're just kind of shooting the breeze of just rapping and doing stuff. And then it's like, okay, I've gotten enough paper cuts. I'm switching to tissue paper or tape duty. Or when the tape would start to run out, you just be like, "Tape, tape." It's like military, like, "Medic, nothing." "Okay." And then you just sit there and like, "Why aren't you guys doing like, can you find me tape?" "No." Like, "Alright, I'm gonna relax."
So, building off of that, let's keep talking about these department parties because specifically
Okay.
for rapping, the only department that had to do it was the cruise and entertainment department. This wasn't like you didn't have line cooks out there helping us wrap presents. It was just us doing it. Another one that we got stuck with a lot one was balloon blowing parties.
Oh,
So
balloons.
whenever there was that giant snake up the middle of the promenade for you guys, we had to blow it up. And I don't think most of you understand how many balloons that actually is. Now,
It was
as we would
usually
show up,
800 a sleeve, and on the smaller ships, you'd have, like, 5 sleeves.
how many sleeves did we have on the big ships? I think we had 3 or 4 every time.
Those ones were even bigger, but they would usually do, like, 2 in the middle of the promenade, 2 or 3, and then, like, kinda 1 on
Yeah.
either, like, outskirt.
But so to get these together, basically we would come in, they would bribe us with alcohol. They would have just Coronas and sometimes we would get food. Like sometimes we would get pizza,
Yeah. They didn't
occasionally.
want a lot of, like, greasy balloons, so most of the time it was, like, a box or a couple cases of beer, but they also didn't want a bunch of, like, glass around, so they're like,
Yeah.
"If you get there early, you can have a couple.
And
If you're rolling in late, just get to balloons."
on the Oasis class ships, it was always in Studio B because that was the only area we had room long enough to get those things
Shoot
straight.
the
On the
Yeah,
smaller class ships, it was always in the theater. That was the only
yeah.
spot that we could do them. And so we would come in and you just have to blow up all these balloons. So here are the stations you get. You either get to sit at one of the little machines that goes psh, psh,
Yeah, you put
or
the balloon on top and it inflates
yep,
it.
or you blow it up yourself. Next station over is the people that are tying them. I always did the tying one because I thought that was simple enough. You just pinch, wrap. Your fingers, though, afterwards, holy cow,
I
are
brought
numb.
tape. I bring athletic tape, like hockey tape on like, that is part of my travel tip thing that I forgot. I bring one of those everywhere because it's taped ankles, taping things that are broken, and then for balloon parties, it was taping fingers because just you put down 100 balloons and you're just blistered.
Mm-hmm. And it was painful. And then the last station
They
was the people that had to put the balloons down the chute, which sounds like an
most
easy job. You're like, oh, I want that one. But here's the thing is
most of the time, they
one,
would set up the chutes and they'd have them, like, almost rigged like a baseball backdrop.
mm-hmm,
And then they'd have the, like, carpet fans that just blow air. They'd have a couple of those set up. So you'd blow them up, pass. Like you said, it's not you're tying. You blow it up and just pass. You blow it up, pass. And then the other person's tying, and then you just chuck it towards the fans, and then the fans would blow it down the chute. And we would get to the point most of the time we'd go, "Okay, how many shoots do we need? Okay, sports staff are taking just this one. If we need 3, there's the
mm-hmm.
youth staff and the cast," and then, like, be like, "No, we're filling this and then leaving." And it was just, it got fun of, like, how far away can you be to throw the balloon, or I throw it to you, you hit it towards the fans, then the fans shoot it in and fill it. Because then you get people that are just, like, sitting back in the theater in the chairs, and you're like, "No." Like, "We're wrecked from a sea day. We're filling this and we're done." And they'd be like, "Where are you guys going?" Be like, "We filled our shoot. We're good." Like, the other people can fill theirs. They have twice as many people.
If the fan didn't get the balloon all the way down there, though, there had to be people that were down, like, had to pick up the net, push it a little bit, pick up the net, push it a little bit. That job sucked. I
And
never
Harold
wanted.
Potters, like, getting it down, like, literally getting it down the chute. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
because the
ideal.
fan worked once you got it like a third of the way full. Then it just got them all down there and put it right. But until then, man, you had to walk them in there. Um, with that, we also had other department parties that were just kind of like our department. So all of the cruise and entertainment staff would be in a specific area. We would take over normally one of those lower deck disco clubs or the
Yeah,
crew bar.
not the main pubs or
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Like, "Hey, you can go we're throwing this, tons of food," either some free drinks. Usually, the only free drinks were always beer and wine. They never gave spirits. So they'd
Yep.
throw out buckets of beer and wine and then food
Corona
and
and
just
then whatever cheap wine was on there that was about to expire.
kinda oh, when I need, like, a little bit of a throwback, like, grab a Corona and just, like, sit in a small room and be like, back on ships."
We always got Coronas, and when we were out of Coronas, Despies. Or
Yeah,
no, Souls and Despies. We got Souls and
yeah.
Despies.
Well, that Stella's was the
Yeah, Souls was
fancy
our
one.
classy one. So we had those individual group parties that were all fun and different things. But one of the most enjoyable smaller parties that we did as groups was the movie nights in Adventure Ocean when you used to host them.
And it was Oasis Glass was the best for
Hmm.
it because the smaller ones, you're in Adventure Ocean and you'd go in and kind of just sit on the ground. They'd have the big TV, but you walk out and you're like, there's glitter everywhere. That stuff, the, the
It's
pun
in
or
the
the joke
carpet.
that it's in the movies is not false. Like, I was covered in glitter for 5 months, 6 months straight. Just you're at the beach, you're in the ocean, and you're like, "Look, it's stuck. It's on my arm." And you're like in the ocean, like it is not going anywhere. I'm glad it's not going in the ocean, but it's always on you. But the Oasis class has the small theater, and we would, everybody's going out and downloading movies, and it would literally be like, "Yo, Fish got the new I think you brought on Deadpool when it came out." And you're like, "I got a good version of Deadpool." Like, "All right, this week, C day going into a port day, let's have a movie night." And it'd be like, "All right, guys, movie's starting at 10." And it was like theater rules, like, don't stroll in late like you own the place. Like, you sneak in. We're watching a
We
movie.
would shout at you if you were making noise. We would pause the thing and we
Sorry,
were like,
Rod,
what the hell?
But my favorite was we watched Deadpool. That's the one that's iconic in my mind because you laughed the most because you know more of the lore.
Mhm.
But the amount of times we had to pause it because you would be cracking up. I would get like the joke third, and then a bunch of other comic book nerds would be laughing. And then a lot of foreigners would be like, "What are you guys laughing at?" I'd be like, "All right, somebody pause it. Hang on. Fish, elaborate, explain what this is to them."
Yeah, I remember having to explain the IKEA scene. Like that was hilarious because it just like
That one actually surprised me because it's like,
went over
"Guys, it's
people's
a
head.
comedy joke." People are like, "What's IKEA?" We're like, "The whole you're from Europe. You're from Scandinavia. Don't you know what the" they're like, "No." Like, "What?"
Yeah, but they don't have IKEA in Russia, I bet. They don't have, you know? So I had to explain that one. And then all the American like slang that he used. When he would say
Yeah,
like there were a bunch of parts where he would break the fourth wall and I
yeah,
I had no you explained it way better to people of like, okay. The camera is wall number 4, right? So
right,
he talks to me.
right,
Otherwise, it's filmed in a box.
right.
And just oh.
Well, that I think that one was the most fun one that stands out, but this was
All the
also
Pixar or all the DreamWorks movies whenever they came out. All the
so well, ships had those, so most of the time, we'd be like, "Hey, we wanna see the new Kung Fu Panda," and the used to have be like, "Dude, we watched this thing." every day for kids. But I think the bigger ones were this was during the Avengers series.
Hmm.
So, like, when Endgame came out, there was a bunch of people that would go see it on shore leave, but when someone would bring it on ships, that Game of Thrones, those were huge ones.
Hmm.
Those were our whole watching party of going
Hmm.
and getting them, watching them. And just giant events, and those ones weren't hosted, those were hosted by friends of talk to the manager, gather a group of friends,
Hmm.
go in there, and the main thing was, like, you were allowed to drink and eat, but you're also in a venue that the next morning is getting opened up to public. So, a lot of times they'd be like, "Guys, clean up after yourselves, or we're axing it."
When I was on the Harmony, after they did Grease on turnaround day, we would go into the theater. So this would probably be about 11 o'clock at night. And we would watch the new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. So there would be like 30 of us in the theater. And we're just watching RuPaul's
Never
Drag
did
Race on
that
the
one.
giant TV screen. And the best part was if you wanted to talk, go sit on the other side of the theater. That's the best part. You just go sit on the
Yeah,
other side. If you want to sit there quietly, you sit on this side. It was
hey,
hilarious. It was awesome.
just the
But that's where I
watchers, the
became a very
chills, and the
big
chatter.
advocate for RuPaul's Drag Race.
I also loved the theater because when we were on Symphony, it was right when um, Greatest Showman came out,
Ooh.
and Simeon would come out beforehand, and so it was this elaborate event that I think Ships did kind of wrong. So we had to set up the red carpet, we set up like fake paparazzi, big giant billboards, and we had to dress in formal because it was supposed to be like a red carpet night.
Mm-hmm.
And you stand at the doors, and people are like, "Hey, what's going on?" You're like, "Oh, it's movie night. Come on in." And they're like, "Oh, we're way underdressed." And you're like, "Nope, we're way overdressed. This is just a movie." But I think Jared
They
and I
tried to
watched
make
it.
it a bit, but it didn't work.
Right. It didn't hit because it's like we're standing there in formal, like girls are in dresses and gowns, and we're in three-piece suits, and people are walking by in board shorts, tank tops, sleep, whatever, just casual clothes. Like, oh, sorry, we're underdressed. Like, guys, it's just a bit. Just if you want to watch The Greatest Showman, go in. But the sound system in the theater to watch those big movies, like when you have Endgame
Oh.
on the theater and it's just resonating through you with Iron Man flying around, the explosions and stuff, or The Greatest Showman has like amazing bass of just you're really in it, and those were just super fun to when you got to close the doors and it was just crew and you're
Mm-hmm.
kicking back, those were always the fun ones.
Yeah.
But I think for most calendar holidays, New Year's Eve was always a blast
Oh, New
because
Year's Eve was
besides the
some of my favorite parties, man.
it was the balloons were a nightmare. Those every balloon blowing party you just dreaded, but again, the whole on those holidays, the whole ship's just kinda united,
Mm-hmm.
and so they when we're sailing out of the US, they would cater towards New Year's Eve,
Well, hold
Christmas,
on. I
Thanks
want to pause you there because you said something. You said the whole
Okay.
ship united, and that's one thing we need to talk about a little bit more is because none of us had friends or family with us. And I mean friends or family by immediate friends or family. You just had the people
Right,
around you. So one of the things that everybody was good at was bringing everybody in. There
yeah,
was I think a few holidays as we go through them, but there were times where all of us, no matter who you disliked, no matter who you wanted to punch in the face on that cruise ship, we were all able to mutually set things aside and just come together because we know we don't have anybody else. Like this is
right.
what we've got is the people around us,
This
So
guy's lazy as crap on Zipline, but tonight, I'm making sure that we're grabbing beers together.
or tonight I'm gonna make sure he gets laid. Tonight we're gonna, we're gonna
The
tonight.
wingmanning, oh, man.
In, yeah. So it's always taking care of each other. I'm gonna talk to you. We'll be friends. We can set our differences aside for a little bit. But tomorrow it's back to war.
But Thanksgiving food, teaching foreigners about turkey. why do you guys eat turkey? Like, I don't know, you know,
Dog, we don't
half
even
this crap
know.
was
We, we
it was
don't even.
funny because they have, like, the whole Thanksgiving spread, and it's just, huge turkeys and tons of mashed potatoes, tons of beans, cranberry sauce, whatever. But then you can go get like lobster tails, like right there too. And you're like, well, this is the American section, and everybody kind of fills it in, but then they're going down the windjammer and being like, well, I'm gonna add cookies and I'm gonna add shrimp and like adding all the other foods. So you have like an American plate and then a side plate with all the other delicious cruise food.
Hmm.
That was always fun. The 4th, again, huge for the American population. Did you ever do it on like, when you sailed out of Southampton, did you guys ever do anything for the 4th?
Yeah, we did the green card party. I think we've talked about it on here.
Nice. Okay. Yeah,
um, that
yeah.
w- that was the one where we gave. So basically, I think there was only like 12 or 13. There wasn't many Americans. Um, so we all got 2 green cards, and we all only got like 2 cases of beer. So we only had like 40 beers for us. But we knew we couldn't drink it all. So what we would do is pass out a green card to our friends, and if you turn that green card in, that's how you got a beer.
Like a VIP invite to the
It
US
was.
part.
I don't even know how to put into words how enjoyable it was to have people come up and like, "Hey man, you got a green card that you can pass my way?" And I was just like, "Maybe. What you gonna do for it?"
So
It was
the other thing
hilarious.
the other thing, I don't know how much you did this, but Jared and I would specifically pack different outfits for holidays. So like, okay, we're getting on at this point, we're gonna hit these holidays. And so you pack an extra outfit. And these were one of my disposable ones of I'm packing this and then like I'm only gonna wear this shirt for this specific holiday and then it's gone. Like I'm not bringing
Hmm.
it home. I'm not gonna keep wearing it to the beaches. Because if you have a my favorite was we signed on and this was right after I had knee surgery. So I was like I had gained a ton of weight from just sitting on my butt and playing uh video games with you online for
RuneScape, baby.
8
That's what
weeks.
we were playing.
There
RuneScape.
it is, RuneScape, yeah. And but Jera's younger sister was like 13 at the time, and we were signing on right before the blackout dates. So between like right after Thanksgiving, beginning of December to like middle of January, they
Mhm.
don't sign crew on or off because the flights are so expensive. And so if
And
you
it's
want to
just
get
a
home for the holidays,
nightmare to try to book
yeah.
people around travel because or around holidays because everybody's going to be like, "No, can I wait an extra week to go to Christmas?" So they just
Or I
don't.
want to get home for holidays, they'd be like, "We'll send you home at the beginning of December, but you're not signing back on for like 6, 8 weeks." But we signed on right before the blackout, so like right after Thanksgiving, and I stole a shirt from Jera's little sister, and it was a girl's small. So it is a crop top on me, and it says, "All I want for Christmas is a pony," and it has a big horse
Attaboy,
across the
Nagy.
whole chest. Well, I say across the whole chest. On a small human, it's supposed to be, it was their whole body. And then it had like little bells on the shoulder. And we signed onto this ship right before Christmas. So no one on the ship really knew me. You get to know, like you said, you don't have friends or family. So you get
Mhm.
on a ship and it's like, hey, we're friends now because we work together. We just have to figure out if we actually can get along. Um, and we go to this Christmas party, and this was on Voyager. So the back deck is also the smoking deck, but it's the outdoor bar. And I show up on Christmas with a huge cigar because we had just stopped in Mexico. I have my Christmas hat. I have
Bro,
this
you are a
ridiculous.
cartoon character. Like,
It could have
do
been.
you
And
realize
my
that, right? Like,
well, my favorite thing was because cigarette smokers hate cigars. It makes me like it's one of the most ironic things. They're sitting smoking. They will hotbox whatever to have a cigarette. I roll in with a cigar. I cleared out this smoking deck. Big hairy belly hanging out of this tiny shirt, Christmas hat on, huge cigar. And I remember at the end of the night, these guys that we'd known for like a
You
week
look
are like,
like
"Hey,
Santa
we're"
Claus from the local mall on a smoke break. Like,
yeah,
just
when Mel Gibson's Santa Claus in his movie, just the style of that. But at the end of the night, we left, and my buddy's like, "Hey, we're gonna leave, but you stay and party." I was like, "I can't. I have to go with you." And they're like, "Why?" I was like, "I'll tell you when we get back to the cabins," because it's the back deck, it's so warm. I'm just covered in sweat. This shirt is painted on. And we get back and they're like, "Okay, good night." I was like, "I need you to do me a favor." And they had to help me take it off because I physically could not get this thing off. And I couldn't rip it because it was just like sweat and wet. I was like, "I need your help." And it was just they took it off, balled it up straight in the trash. Like, oh,
you're a
that
mess.
was that was my favorite Christmas. Besides being Santa, that was my favorite Christmas of just these
Yeah.
people back deck being like, "Who is this guy in this ridiculous outfit with a cigar?"
New Year's was always one of my favorite parties. And the reason for that is because everybody dressed up. Everybody.
Good
All of the
night.
crew members. You had no idea what department anybody worked in because we were all dressed to the nines. It was awesome. Um the
Did you do
two
the
year
balloon drops?
sorry?
Like, did you go to the promenade to do the balloon drops, or did you just party back deck?
We did the balloon drops and then we went back deck.
Okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. 1 year on the Oasis, I just went back deck. I didn't watch any of the balloon drops. I could care less. The next year, we watched the balloon drops because basically all of the cruise staff, um, or like cruise entertainment staff, went up onto those upper balconies on the Harmony. You know
Yeah.
that kind of area where we used to dance. We were all up
Yeah.
there because they were just like, we want this place loaded because it was they were filming stuff for it.
People bring parties, so they're like,
Yep.
"Yo, here's free booze. Go up there, hang out, because you'll attract the guests and give them a better experience."
Well, you'll attract the guests. Plus, they're trying to get pictures. It's their first New Year's on the ship, so they want to get a bunch of pictures and stuff. Because I remember specifically earlier in that night, we were on CNN or NBC. I don't know, one of those. Simeon was doing the whole mic thing, and I had to shoot Abe down the zip line and take him on the flow rider in the middle of it because I got the day
Nice.
off. That's what I traded. I got the day off so that I worked through that stuff. And then I
Right.
basically, in that locker room, got changed into my suit and ran downstairs to the mic
Yeah.
drop. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
I think a lot of those parties is when for me, it was more like voyeuristic of the people watching was amazing when
mhm.
we're celebrating, you're in the middle of it, but I just loved watching all the guests and they're hanging out and they're celebrating and they're partying. You're like, you know, all the effort we went into putting these damn balloons in, you watch it and you're not batting balloons. I would watch the people and just be like, nice. I'm glad that I got to
Mhm.
contribute to some of that awesomeness in your good experience.
That's true. Now, here's what I'm going to say conversely on Christmas.
Yeah.
Sibo and I 1 year counted the amount of people that wished us either Merry Christmas or a Happy Holiday or anything without. Hold on. Let me get where I'm going. You've heard this story. Sibo, Sibo and I counted the amount of people that wished us Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays, any type of acknowledgement without us doing it first, right? Um, 7, the whole day, the whole
Whoa.
day, dude. Nobody. I remember going to work at 7 a.m. For a flow rider lesson. Um, it was what? What's the early lesson? 7:30, 7:15, right?
Yeah.
So
Because it's right.
7:15, and I had this one family, no tip, no thank you. I was like, this sucks.
Oh. Yeah.
Really?
Your staff, especially remember, like, you're up you think you're up early, we're up earlier getting everything ready and putting on our game face to say hello,
Hmm.
like, you can acknowledge.
Yeah, and
Dang.
so that was. I mean, that's another reason that I tell you guys, like the crew comes together because
Yeah.
that's all we've got. It like the guests are a lot of people they think that we're just like we get on every week and see our families and our friends, but no,
Yeah.
we're like It's you versus the world out there.
I think the other thing that was hard is people forget, especially from the States, most of the time Christmas is associated with all things winter. And when you're in the middle of the Caribbean, to be like, "Hey, Merry Christmas," they're like, "Oh, yeah, oh man, yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever." And so they did forget. And we had one year, we're on the Ovation, and we'd been closed because of weather, and it was Christmas Day, and we had a bunch of time slots at the end of the day, and people missed it or it got closed. And I remember I kept saying, like, "Come back at this time, we have some extra iFly lessons. Just come back." And I kept booking, and Tom Watts was iFly lead, and he kept looking at the spreadsheet and he goes, "Nagy, how are these extra lessons full?" These were like super reserve. And I was like, "Dude, it's a bunch of kids, things like that." And I would say, like, "I'll fly your kids. I'm not flying you, but it's Christmas, so I'll fly them." And they'd be like, "Oh my God, thank you, thank you." And I had like 4 lessons in a row that I had booked. And like you said, the crew coming together, everybody started seeing the spreadsheet being like, "Why are we open?" I was like, "'Cause I got one person to drive, I'm doing all the work." And by the end of the night, we had like 6 guys that had taken lessons from me, had booked extra. I was like, "Guys, it's Christmas, come on." And we had had like a dozen extra lessons at the end of the day on Christmas night because I was like, "Guys," I told them, like, only kids, and that's when you could tell the good guess of like, "I'll fly your kids, not you," and the parents would be like, "Please, I just want this for them. I just want this for them." Or the ones that are like, "No, we wanna fly too." I go, "All right, well, maybe at the end of the week, come back."
But
And
let me go layer back too, is because you realize the good guests that come in and they get it, right? Like, I'm gonna help you if you come to me. If you ask me
right.
politely as a human, humanely, with empathy, I'm not saying bow down to me, but if you're like, hey, look, man,
Seasoned thinking.
I promised my kid he was gonna fly on Christmas. We were gonna make this happen. I haven't been able, nobody's been able to give me a good answer. Can you help me out? I got you. Anytime,
Yeah,
any day.
hands down.
You don't,
And
but let's talk about the next layer of this of when somebody just accidentally overhears it, and then now you've got a line of 4 people going, I heard you were giving away free kid lessons, and they're just tossing their kids in there, and you're like, no, fuck.
mixed. I was like, "What?" It was Christmas, but again, we all came together and did it, and we finished at, like, 9 p.m., and
Mm-hmm.
we're all just fried, and the reason that I will always love Royal is because that got up the food chain. Because our manager, the captain sees that we're using tons of energy keeping the tunnel on,
Mm-hmm.
and it trickled back down to us, and I was like, we finished. I was like, "Guys, let's go to the bar. I'm buying first round." And then the cruise director actually came up and gave us a case of beer. And it was like
Nice.
bucket of ice, huge thing. Like, "Guys, we heard what you did. That's phenomenal. Thanks for going above and beyond. Here's some like drinks on us." And it was just like that was, oh man, best Christmas just to be like we were able to do that and provide for those people and have fun.
Nice.
But on another note, it was always about like, finishing and getting to the part like, St. Patty's Day was probably one of my favorite because when you had Irish coworkers, boom, that's where that was a
Oh.
holiday the holidays where you're not trying to get the other experience, you're like, "Oh, no, sorry, we were closing at 5 sharp."
Now you just needed a reason to party. You made these into a reason to party. I don't think everybody
I
took a
needed
hold
a
of St.
I
Patty's
never
Day the
needed a
same way
reason.
you did.
I never needed a reason to party, I needed a reason to drag all my friends along. Like, "Guys, come on, it's blank, let's go." Like, "Alright, we're going." Like, "I'm gonna be there anyway. Are you coming?" "Now you have to come."
I will say my only one time, like I think truly losing it blackout experience was on St. Patty's Day on the Navigator. We did Irish
Yeah.
car bombs, got hammered up at the bar too. I came back. I remember waking up in my bathroom, like in the toilet.
Oof.
And I woke up
Oof.
like an hour before work, and I was like, perfect. I can go, like I can go get some food and kind of like perking up, right?
Right.
So I go
Soak
up
up
there.
something.
Go up there. I sit with this youth staff chick, and the head of HR is like one table over. And these are the staff messes, so it's tiny. Like it's,
Yeah.
and I am just like barely hanging on, trying to keep it together. And I'm putting food in me, and I kind of, how once you kind of get some electrolytes and carbs in you, you come back around. I got enough to get up to the sports deck, set up the whole sports deck, the whole thing. Then I
And that's
go
like
into the bathroom.
7
I go into the bathroom to take a dump, and I fall asleep on the toilet. And my buddies were like, "Dude, we knew you were here somewhere. Like the place was set up." Like so my
your
Byron was
brain
just
did its
banging on
duty
the
and
door
then
like,
fell
"Hey,
off.
bud, bring it together."
Jeez.
They figured it out, but it was hilarious because they were like, "No, it was all done. We just like you just disappeared." That was
Yeah.
rough.
I think I'll challenge you on that though, that I've seen you go very hard at the crew quests. Like that was one where I think people partied harder on the crew quest than they did on any holiday because
Mhm.
we've said it before, the quest is like an adult themed audience-based scavenger hunt, but when the crew would do it, like adult themed was an understatement. It would be it's not like, "Oh, bring me a 20 or bring me a picture of the White House." It was like, "Bring me 10 pairs of guys' underwear and 10 bras." And crew are just taking off clothes, getting together. Like, we want a chain of
Oh.
topless people. Like, I don't know. That one was when drinks were everywhere and people were everywhere.
So the best part about the crew quest is it kind of went no rules and it depended on who hosted it, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones, Ricky hosted. Were you ever there for that? I think you were.
Was not
Oh
I don't think
man.
so.
So Ricky hosted this one and it starts off like a normal quest. But the first of all, the crew know that this is a competition. So we all kind of sit departmentally in our areas because we're clearly like us versus them, just for
Well, it's
shits and
always
giggles.
like now it's yeah, that was I think the biggest segregation of like, oh no, it is sports staff versus the entertainment team
No, I
or the
mean, like you would get all of housekeeping in one spot, you would get F&B in another spot, you would get casino in another spot,
yeah,
cruise. So we would all be together in the game. But step one was like Ricky comes out there and it starts like a normal quest. All right, somebody find me a sock with a hole in it. And then the cruise staff that play this game every week know the game and handed him a condom while everybody else handed him a sock. And
nice.
that, bonus points off the back there. And that's what kind of started it. We did some once beforehand, but the second that happened, Ricky throws the condom on the ground of Studio B and goes, "Fuck it. We're playing live. We've got 30 seconds to go. I need 2 women making out from each team. Best team wins."
Dang.
Flying down the stairs, man. Flying. And they are just making out. And the crew is losing their mind. We're jumping up and down like, ooh, 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 ooh. And ultimately he goes through it and he's like, "You know what? That was awesome. Everybody gets points."
Yeah.
But they do. They get rowdy. And so one time, the next kind of few points that we have, whatever quests, they pull through. He goes, "All right, I need 2 guys and a girl from each team." I get shoved down there. And I was recently hooking up with this chick, and I didn't have any underwear on because we had hooked up before the party. And I was just wearing my
Nice.
jeans. And Ricky goes, "All right, all 3 of you, the fastest team to change his clothes wins." And so she takes off her dress, flies right off, but she's got underwear on. The guy next
Right.
to me is a super gay dude that pulls out his thong that he's wearing, and everybody's losing their minds. And I'm like, "Nope, we're not doing this, guys. Not doing this." And Josh, who's the Mexican guy, looks at me and he goes, "No, Papa, we're not losing." And I said, "But we're not doing this." He rips my pants down, and I have my shirt on, luckily. and he just pulls them off as quick as he can. And my shirt's there, and so my junk is out for everyone.
Old Winnie the Pooh.
I pull my shirt over it. Everybody's losing their mind. First of all, they're going, "Wow!" I just grab Josh's pants, slip them on, and then we run backstage. I'm like, "Nope, I'm not doing this." And first of all, everybody's losing their minds. And as we're backstage, Rachel comes back because Josh had her dress on, and so like we all had to kind of
Right, yeah, yeah.
mix it up. And Josh goes, "Papa, what were you worried about? You should show more people that thing." And then Rachel turns to him and goes, "I've seen it." And they high five, and I was like, "Oh, I'm done. I can't. I got to get out of here." That was a
Like,
wild one.
the end one for us was they wanted a line of clothing. First one to get it from the entire length of Studio B of clothing. And so most people rip off their shirt pants, but I think I saw in our group with the sports staff, like 2 dudes just buck naked because they had done pants, shirt, socks, underwear, and you're like, "Hey, man, your short, like, hideaway sock is not necessary. You could keep that on." Like, "No, man, we're getting the W," and they just standing there naked, just Peter Pan stance,
And
like,
they're
"We
like
got
in
this."
tidy whities too. So you're like, "Bud, your underwear ain't doing anything." Like,
Right. But when you had, like, again, like you said, the good guys, it was like first person to get the length, only underwear.
hmm
And then they're just standing there bold as brass, naked, and, like, shirt and pants on the side, just naked with underwear and bras just lining it. And I remember Jared and I had come from formal, and I was like I was wrecked, so I was just chilling. And I was like, "Here's my jacket, put your clothes out there." So these girls are just, like, sitting there topless, or guys are just, like, holding their shirt over their
hmm
junk, like, "I'm just waiting to get my underwear back." Like, dang, man.
My
Alright.
favorite one too. I'm just tossing this out there. After you talked about the clothes, Ricky had all the women take their bras off because he was like, "Whoever can put the most bras on their arm wins." So everybody's tossing them
Nice.
down. You've seen that one before. And Ricky's going through the bras, and he finds just this ginormous thing. And he goes, "Who does this belong to? Who does this belong to? I'm not gonna make you walk down here, but at least wave." And she
Right.
jumps up and she waves, and he sends it up there with the crew staff, whoever was helping him, and he goes, "Here's a wow card too for her." And
Nice.
I was like, yeah.
Well, that was the best part because, again, the entertainment team, like, the cast members are just extremely fit humans.
hmm
Guys and girls, just gorgeous. But like you said, that lady was probably from, like, the wait staff or the kitchens, and, like, those are the heroes. You're like, "Yeah, you're hot, cool, sit down. Look at the size of that bra that that woman has to wear
Exactly.
every day. Like, it's a t-shirt for me, and she is serving drinks or cooking up food." Like, that's the true hero.
Exactly. Let's go,
But
Funza.
right, yeah. But I
All
think
right.
in general, for the more mild ways that they kept crew happy were like, my favorite was wine and cheese night, and I
Mhm.
think that was almost, like, monthly.
It was monthly, but the other thing that we had monthly was the crew parties. We had a crew party every month, an all crew party. So what an all crew party was they would give us free beer, wine, and then we would generally get some sort of snack. You know, the snack varied a lot, or whatever they had extra of in the kitchen. But we got
It
beer,
was
wine for
pizza
free.
and wings.
We got beer,
Fast, easy,
wine.
and serve mass.
Mm-hmm. We got beer, wine for free. And then it was always in a fun part of the ship. It was never in like an all crew area. We would always take over like the solarium or the boardwalk or some upper deck area for all of us to hang out at.
It
And
closed a guest court, like, area for us.
mhm. It was always easy to do Studio B. It was always easy to do the theater. It was always easy to do the solarium. So those were very common areas that we were out,
Yeah.
which were all phenomenal and fun and awesome. And they opened up the bars in those areas so crew could go grab the bars that are drink prices. And we just had a good time. I mean, specifically in Studio B, the middle would become a dance floor, and they would always turn the lights down like the red party. Um,
Yeah.
and we would go back and get in our costumes, and that was great. And we would literally just party all night long. I don't think there was. I never stayed until they shut it down. Did you? I feel like you
Yeah.
had.
Yeah. No, I mean, it would hit its peak and you're like, yeah, we still have stuff the next day, whether it's a port day or not. Like
Hmm.
it was going, partying really hard, seeing everyone, getting to interact with all the different departments, but just like good times going out, dance until you're broken, and then yeah, I don't think I ever shut one down because those things would go until the last person wanted to leave.
Yeah. Um, but the best part was at all these parties all the time, you had so many cultures clashing, which was the best part. And the music came from around the world. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. Let's be real. The best DJs were always Filipinos. It's a fact. Like it's always just
Music is
some
ingrained.
some
Yeah.
4'10" guy with his hat sticking out the side.
Yeah.
He knew everything. You're like, bro, when did you start speaking Serbian? And he's like, das slušna. And just playing some like deep Serbian house music. It is so much fun. And so
When the
whenever,
good ones can read the room. So, like,
hmm
you're dancing and they keep it going.
hmm
It's not like they're changing gears. It's not like a prom where they're switching to a slow song after a banger. Like,
no,
they
there's
would it would get to a level and it would stay there to the point, like I said, where it's like, "Yo, man, I'm actually tired. I need to go." Like, I don't wanna drink. I need some water, and we're getting back out there.
Yeah, because we would have the crew DJ, which was always a volunteer DJ, by the way, so that everybody, just so everybody knows, we had like our own little culture of everything. You had
Yeah,
barbers, you had um guys that could fix anything, like
yeah.
across the board. So moving through that, what these DJs would do is like they would take 2 hour or an hour and a half time slots and they would just tag in another DJ halfway through.
Yeah.
So they would send it to a mix, they would put it on like a 30-second loop while the other guy's tagging in and putting his stuff together, and it would just jump in and take right over, and it was awesome. It was never ending. There was an absurd amount of Red Bull. I remember the Serbians specifically used to have their jet fuel, which was C4. They would drink about half of it, then they would put they would put pre-workout into the C4 can. Then with that, they would put vodka, and then after the vodka, they would generally put like some type of, I'd say, garnish on top of it, and they would just sip on that thing all night long.
Oh, yeah. Like, when you would see coworkers taking pre-workout, you're like, "Are you going to the gym? I thought we were going to the party." Like, "No, we're going to the party." Like, "Oh my god, alright."
bro, bro. Um, then, so I guess with that, what were some of your specific all crew parties that stand out to you? I've got one or two that stand out to me specifically.
For me, it was the more mellow ones. Like, it would be like a theme, like, there would be like a wine and cheese, but the mellow ones. Yeah, believe it or not the huge party ones. It was the mellow ones where it's like, "Hey, man, it's a sea day tomorrow," but they're doing, on the Ovation, it would be like house music, and Psy from Montenegro would roll up, and he would just spin the chillest, just like, one of those things where, like, you feel like you always need to move, but it was never crazy loud. So, it was always just really mellow, and you could just go up and just relax and chill. And if he was like, "Nah, I'm spinning tonight," I'd be like, "I'm there." Because you could just go up and relax, but it's still kind of a party vibe, and he would do it once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you get up, you're like, "Hey, man, I just want a couple drinks, grab some food, kinda relax, chill," and it's, 80, 90% of the other people are really trying to party, but those ones were just mellow, where you could go, have a snack, still kinda chat, get up and dance, or just relax and just get ready for that, like, just a nice little recharge. So
Mhm.
those were actually, believe it or not, those were more popular in my mind than like, "Oh, it's Nut House tonight, let's roll."
Interesting, because I only showed
Yeah,
up when it's a nut house.
yeah.
I never showed up to
You
any of
needed
that
the
crap.
excuse. I was there every night, so it didn't matter to me. It was like, yeah, I just
I never showed up to any of that junk. So, or I would show up for like 10 minutes after I would work out. And you'd always be
it was
like, bro,
you were there
how
for
are
the
you
food.
always sweaty? Like, you
Yeah,
can't just wear Lycra to the bar, man. I'm like,
yeah.
what do you mean? Bro, you can't wear Lycra and flip flops. Like, that's not a look.
Like, "Hey, man, I'm just here for a couple free drinks," and then going.
If that, I would have maybe a beer. Or I would just say hi to you guys and then go to bed, you know?
You cash in on the food. You
Mm
just needed sustenance. Like, "Hey, guys, got some
hmm.
food. Alright, later."
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that was.
What
Do
was
you have any
what
other
was yours?
parties that stood out in your mind across anything that we missed?
Not really, besides just birthdays. Birthdays were bonkers.
Ooh, interesting. Go on this. Go 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 go. Because
It
this
was
was very fascinating.
Yeah, the best one we ever had was we prepped it was a Halloween costume, and we went as our favorite Disney movie, Atlantis. Jera was Kida, and I went as Milo, and so we're ready for Halloween. I actually got sent to my iFly training for Halloween, so I missed it. So Jared dressed up with one of my coworkers,
Hmm.
but then a girl, her name's Alice, and she was part of the tech team, and she was celebrating her birthday, and so, of course, she had an Alice in Wonderland slash Disney themed,
Okay.
and we actually went down to deck 0 on Ovation, and she got it out, like, bartender, everything, like, she made this huge party, and everyone was dressed in amazing costumes. Like, I was like, "I don't think people like us brought a specific Disney costume on." They heard about this party, went out in port, and got Disney themed, and I think that was one of the best parties we've ever been to, because everybody was dressed up. It was a super close group of friends and then a little bit of outliers, but everybody was there partying together, and I mean, I think there was a good 50 of us all dressed in every single one, and
Yeah.
I think somebody even came as, like, Maleficent with, like, horns and gown and everything, like, she looked banging of just dressed up, and it was just a birthday, like, it wasn't any holiday, it was just like a, "Hey, it's my birthday, we're having a big party," and people were going nuts, and we had buddies DJing and things like that, but birthdays were a huge one.
Yes, I've been to several of those Disney birthday parties actually. And the fun part
Yeah,
is everybody's take on the different costumes. I always pulled out Jack Sparrow. He was my clutch. Because you could buy that pirate hat. You could buy that pirate hat with the dreads anywhere. And then
anyway, yeah.
all you needed was like some sort of ripped, tattered bottom, which was
Yep,
whatever. And then you use your white dress shirt. And you just open
yep.
it up and kind of ruffle it up in your Jack Sparrow. And then you have some cast member put eyeliner on you.
There you go. Life tips, pro tips, it's the base of the costume is not always important, it's the small accessories.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, like, the dreads, the eyeliner, carry around a compass, you're good. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can get all like, it's just the little details versus, "Oh, I need this whole lot." No, you don't. Just get a few perfect accessories, and you can pull off anything.
Yeah, in detail work. Again, pay attention to how his eyeliner's done. Pay attention to the type of earring that he has. Those go a
Yeah,
lot further. Um, but yeah, that's the crew party episode in a nutshell. Now,
yeah.
what do you want to leave out there in the void at the end of this episode?
I mean, for the most part, it's just about the rule of ships was always keep the crew happy, happy crew, happy life. And a lot of it was based in the grog. So the amount of drinks that they give to the crew below decks that you guys don't really know about, give your people a little break on you know, the 1st of January, like, "Why is service taking so long?" Like, "Hey, man, they celebrated too." Because we are out there living our lives, doing the thing, and then still providing amazing service to you guys, but it was always good below decks to just hang out and be that community and family that you're not always seeing above deck because, you know, you're there forever, and always just a good time to get out there and celebrate.
All right, I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Later, man.